Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. Imagine for a moment that you are living in a multiverse, not just one universe, but many universes existing at the same time, and in one of those universes, there is another version of you. A doppelganger, someone who looks exactly like you, lives a similar life but makes slightly different choices. Now imagine something even stranger. What if, for a brief moment, the timelines of two universes crossed each other? What if information from another universe somehow reached our world? Today we are going to talk about a mysterious phenomenon known as déjà vu, a French expression that literally means already seen. Many people describe it as a strange feeling, a moment where you suddenly feel like you have already experienced this exact situation before. But let me start with a real story. In 2017, a newly married woman living somewhere in Europe woke up suddenly at 5:30 in the morning. Her phone vibrated with a new message. Still half asleep, she picked up the phone and looked at the screen. The message said, "Who is this?" At first, she thought it was just a random message from an unknown number. But when she looked carefully at the number, her heart started beating faster. The number looked exactly like her husband's phone number. But there was something impossible about this situation. Her husband was lying right next to her in bed, fast asleep. And his phone was also right beside him. Confused and slightly scared, she woke him up. They both checked his phone carefully. There was no message sent from his device. Nothing. No record of the message. Both of them were completely shocked. Where did the message come from? Some people say incidents like this are simply technical glitches or phone network errors, but others suggest something far more mysterious. What if, at that exact moment, another version of her husband in another universe was sending a message, and somehow the information crossed into this universe? It sounds like science fiction, but moments like these make people wonder about the strange feeling many of us have experienced at least once in our lives. A feeling where everything suddenly feels strangely familiar. A moment where your brain tells you, "I have already been here before." Scientists call this phenomenon déjà vu, and according to research, about 97% of people in the world experience déjà vu at least once in their lifetime. But the real question is déjà vu just a trick of the brain? Or could it be a tiny glimpse of something much bigger, like the possibility of multiple universes? In this video, we will explore what scientists actually say about déjà vu and why this strange experience happens. Stay with me.
Explore the universe, one secret at a time.
Is déjà vu just a strange coincidence? Or is there something deeper happening inside our minds? As we mentioned earlier, almost 97% of people in the world experience déjà vu at least once in their lifetime. That means nearly everyone has had that mysterious feeling where a moment suddenly feels oddly familiar. You walk into a new place, you meet someone for the first time, or you hear a conversation and suddenly think, wait, I've already seen this before. But here's the strange part. In most cases, the situation is completely new. You know logically that you have never been there before, yet your brain strongly insists that you have already experienced the moment. Scientists have been studying this phenomenon for decades. One common scientific explanation is that déjà vu might be a memory processing glitch in the brain. Inside the brain, memories are processed in regions related to recognition and familiarity. Sometimes these signals may briefly misfire or overlap, making a new experience feel like an old memory. In neuroscience research, this phenomenon has also been linked to conditions involving the temporal lobe epilepsy. Patients with this condition sometimes report extremely intense feelings of déjà vu right before a seizure occurs. This suggests that the temporal lobe, the part of the brain responsible for memory and recognition, plays an important role in creating this strange sensation. Another explanation involves something called false memories. Sometimes the brain processes a moment in two different pathways, almost simultaneously. One signal arrives a tiny fraction of a second earlier than the other. When the second signal arrives, the brain mistakenly thinks the information is already stored as a memory. As a result, the moment suddenly feels familiar, even though it is happening for the first time. But brain glitches are not the only explanation people talk about. Some philosophers and writers have suggested that déjà vu might be connected to dreams. Maybe you saw a similar scene in a dream weeks or months ago, and when it happens in real life, your brain suddenly recognizes it. Others have even linked it to ideas like reincarnation or unconscious memories. But in modern physics discussions, there is another fascinating idea that often appears in theoretical conversations: the possibility of multiple universes existing at the same time, also known as the multiverse theory. According to some theoretical physicists, our universe might not be the only one. Instead, reality could consist of many universes existing in parallel. If that were true, then somewhere out there might be another version of you living a slightly different life. But this leads to a very strange question. If multiple universes exist, could information ever cross from one universe to another? And if it could that create the mysterious feeling we call déjà vu? This story suggests that sometimes memories or information can come from another variant of ourselves, which may explain why we experience déjà vu. Now, scientists explain this phenomenon with a simple analogy. When milk is boiled, particles rise and form bubbles. Similarly, in the multiverse, bubbles form that represent separate universes. This theory suggests that parallel universes may actually exist, and occasionally information from them can cross over into our reality. Scientists have been trying to understand how these bubbles of reality could actually exist. Physicists describe something called a false vacuum. Think of it like a ball sitting on a small hill instead of at the bottom of a valley. It appears stable, but with the right push it can roll down to a lower energy state. In cosmology, this represents a field of energy that is metastable, ready under certain conditions to decay into a true ground state. This decay can theoretically create new bubbles of universe. At the University of Trento in Italy, researchers tested this concept experimentally using superfluid atomic systems. They cooled atoms to near absolute zero, applied a controlled magnetic field, and then shone light onto the system. Almost immediately, tiny bubbles formed spontaneously in the superfluid. These bubbles weren't random. They matched the predictions of false vacuum decay in theoretical physics. Each bubble acted as a miniature universe, forming within a controlled environment. This is significant because it provides a lab-based analogy for how new universes could nucleate from energy fluctuations. It shows that under precise conditions, matter can spontaneously reorganize, creating distinct regions that behave like separate realities. In simpler terms, just like boiling milk creates bubbles on the surface, the universe can produce bubbles of reality. And in some cases, information from one bubble could theoretically cross over to another, offering a possible explanation for déjà vu and crossover memories. Experiments like these bridge theory and reality, suggesting that multiverse concepts are more than just abstract ideas. They give us a glimpse into how multiple universes could exist simultaneously, sometimes interacting in subtle ways that our human minds perceive as déjà vu. What cosmologists and theoretical physicists say about the multiverse and its implications? Scientists like Michio Kaku and Max Tegmark suggest that our universe could be just one bubble among countless others, each forming under slightly different conditions. Some universes might have the same physical laws as ours, while others could be completely different. These bubbles exist simultaneously, separated in space or even in dimensions we cannot directly perceive. One fascinating prediction is that occasionally these universes might interact. Quantum fluctuations or energy overlaps could allow information to leak from one universe to another. This could be why humans experience phenomena like déjà vu, premonitions, or sudden flashes of memory that seem out of place. It might be a crossover from a variant of ourselves in another universe. Philosophers and scientists also point out that if the multiverse exists, every possible version of reality could exist somewhere. That means every decision, every event, has a version in another universe. And theoretically, your doppelganger, a slightly different version of you, is living their life in another bubble. Sometimes when timelines intersect, subtle information might transfer, appearing as memories or experiences in your own timeline. While these ideas sound incredible, experiments like the bubble nucleation in superfluids give them a scientific grounding. Observing bubbles forming spontaneously under controlled conditions shows that the universe's energy can produce discrete regions, supporting the multiverse hypothesis. The multiverse isn't just science fiction. Physics, experiments, and cosmology all suggest that countless realities could exist, each with slight variations, and sometimes these realities might briefly interact, giving rise to phenomena we call déjà vu. Continuing from where we left off, Let's look at real-world experiments that give us clues about the multiverse. At the University of Trento and other labs, scientists conducted experiments using superfluids and magnetic fields. For example, they took a cooled liquid, like sodium atoms in a superfluid state, and applied precise magnetic fields while shining light on the system. What they observed was remarkable. Tiny bubbles formed spontaneously, each behaving like a separate, isolated region. These bubbles are more than just patterns in a lab. They mimic the theoretical process of false vacuum decay, the way cosmologists believe new universes can form. The energy fluctuations cause a metastable state to collapse into a lower energy state, creating a bubble of reality. This experiment shows that under certain conditions, matter can spontaneously reorganize into discrete regions, just as multiverse theory predicts. Some scientists even argue that the way bubbles nucleate in these experiments is similar to how cosmic inflation after the Big Bang could produce multiple universes. Each bubble could expand, evolve, and exist independently, forming its own timeline and laws of physics. In simpler terms, imagine boiling milk. Bubbles form at different points, each independent but part of the same system. In the universe, similar bubbles might form naturally, each representing a different universe. And if two bubbles come close enough, or if their timelines intersect, small amounts of information, memories or experiences, could theoretically cross over. This might explain why humans sometimes feel déjà vu or encounter experiences that seem impossible. These experiments bridge theory and reality, suggesting that the multiverse may not be purely hypothetical. While we cannot yet travel between universes, laboratory analogues give us a glimpse of how other realities could exist alongside our own, and how subtle interactions might occasionally reach us. Many people around the world report experiences of déjà vu, that sudden feeling of having been in a situation before. Studies show that about 97% of humans experience this at least once, and roughly 67% experience it regularly. While some explanations point to memory glitches in the brain or temporal lobe activity, the multiverse hypothesis offers a different perspective. Perhaps these are moments when information from another universe briefly crosses over into our consciousness. Real-life stories add intrigue to this idea. In addition to the 2017 story of the newlywed receiving a mysterious message, there are countless accounts where people feel strongly that they have lived certain events before or make decisions based on a gut feeling that turns out to be surprisingly accurate. Some philosophers and psychologists suggest that these could be memories of choices made by our other selves in parallel universes. From a scientific viewpoint, experiments with atomic superfluids, bubble nucleation, and false vacuum decay provide a framework for understanding how such crossovers could be physically plausible. If universes exist as independent bubbles, energy fluctuations or quantum interactions might allow tiny bits of information to transfer from one bubble to another. Philosophically, this raises fascinating questions. If every possible version of reality exists, are our choices truly free, or are we following a path among countless alternatives? And if doppelgangers exist across universes, could they influence our experiences in ways we perceive as intuition, déjà vu, or sudden insight? Experiments suggest the mechanism is possible, and real-life anecdotes provide compelling hints. While science cannot yet prove the crossover of memories, the evidence points to the intriguing possibility that our universe is just one bubble among countless others, and sometimes we might glimpse a reflection of another version of ourselves. One key concept is quantum superposition. At the quantum level, particles can exist in multiple states simultaneously until observed or measured. This principle underlies the famous thought experiment of Schrödinger's cat, a cat that is simultaneously alive and dead until the box is opened. Extrapolated to the universe, this suggests that multiple versions of reality could exist simultaneously, with each possible outcome forming a separate universe or bubble. Quantum entanglement also provides fascinating clues. When two particles are entangled, a change in one instantaneously affects the other regardless of distance. If similar principles apply at a larger scale, it is conceivable that universes could be entangled in subtle ways, allowing tiny amounts of information to cross between them. This could explain moments of intuition, déjà vu, or the feeling of a parallel self influencing your choices. Cosmologists also predict that during the rapid expansion after the Big Bang, called cosmic inflation, multiple universe bubbles could have formed simultaneously. Each bubble would have its own timeline and possibly slightly different physical laws. Some bubbles might collide or interact in rare ways, potentially leaving subtle imprints, detectable in cosmic background radiation or other astronomical observations. Experiments in quantum systems, like atomic superfluids and controlled bubble nucleation, act as mini-analogues for these cosmic processes. They provide a tangible model for how separate universes could emerge, interact, and influence one another on a microscopic level. Quantum mechanics doesn't just allow for the multiverse, it predicts it. Superposition, entanglement, and cosmic inflation all point to the possibility that countless universes exist, each forming its own reality, and sometimes information might leak across, giving us a glimpse of another version of ourselves or triggering experiences like déjà vu. Building on quantum mechanics and cosmic predictions, let's examine the evidence and meaning of the multiverse in our lives. Experiments like superfluid bubble nucleation, controlled magnetic fields, and atomic systems have shown that new bubbles of reality can form spontaneously. While these are small-scale laboratory analogues, they provide a blueprint for how entire universes might emerge. Each bubble could exist independently, with its own physical laws, timelines, and possibly even versions of ourselves. Philosophically, this raises profound questions. If countless universes exist, every decision we make has a version in another reality. Every outcome that could have happened does happen somewhere. This implies that reality is far richer and more complex than our limited perception allows. It also suggests that phenomena like intuition, déjà vu, or sudden flashes of insight could be echoes from other timelines. From a human perspective, understanding the multiverse can reshape how we see ourselves. Perhaps our experiences are influenced not only by our immediate environment, but also by interactions with alternate versions of reality. The story of the 2017 newlywed receiving a mysterious message becomes more than an anomaly. It could be a subtle sign of universe crossover, a glimpse into the broader cosmic network. Cosmologists continue to search for indirect evidence, such as unusual patterns in the cosmic microwave background or anomalies in particle physics. While definitive proof remains elusive, the combination of experimental analogues, quantum theory, and philosophical reasoning makes the multiverse a serious topic in science. The cosmos and human experience. It shows that multiverse theory is not just theoretical speculation, but a framework that could explain why we sometimes feel, sense, or remember things that seem impossible in our own universe. So far, we've explored déjà vu, real-life stories, laboratory experiments, quantum mechanics, and cosmic predictions. Everything points to a remarkable possibility. Our universe may be just one bubble among countless others. Each universe could have its own timeline, physical laws, and versions of ourselves. Real-life examples, like the 2017 story of the newlywed receiving a mysterious message, hint at how information from a parallel universe might occasionally reach us. Lab experiments with superfluids, magnetic fields, and bubble nucleation show that new bubbles of reality can form spontaneously, supporting the theoretical predictions of cosmologists. Quantum principles such as superposition and entanglement suggest that multiple realities can exist simultaneously and, in rare cases, interact. Even philosophically, the multiverse changes how we view our lives. Every decision we make could exist in another universe. Every possibility is realized somewhere. This expands the scope of reality beyond what our senses perceive, making phenomena like intuition, flashes of insight, or déjà vu more understandable. In conclusion, while we cannot yet travel between universes or fully prove their existence, science provides compelling clues. From laboratory analogues to cosmic predictions, the multiverse may not be a fantasy. It may be an intrinsic part of reality. And perhaps just occasionally, our consciousness catches a fleeting glimpse of another version of ourselves, reminding us that reality is far bigger, stranger, and more interconnected than we ever imagined. Thank you for joining this journey through the multiverse. Stay curious, keep exploring, and next time you feel déjà vu, maybe it's your parallel self saying hello.